Good afternoon. My name is Tom Casina. I am a homeowner in the Wapikiya area and your host today for a moderated panel to talk about the proposed sewer system opportunity in the Wapikiya area. I have with me today some friends of mine who are a group of citizens who support the public sanitary sewer system and have volunteered to talk with you today about why the public sewer system is so important here in Missoula. I'd like first of all to ask the panel members if they'd introduce themselves. Mike, may I start with you?
Hi, I'm Mike Kuplik. I live at 1929 35th Street in the Bellevue edition.
My name is Mark Fisher. I am the owner of Clark Fork Water Company. We serve houses in the South Hills area of Missoula.
And I'm Shirley Nelson. I live in Wapikiya at 103 Arrowhead Drive, a homeowner.
My name is Sybil Arnold. I live at 1936 Dixon Avenue in the Bellevue area, and I'm a homeowner.
I'm Cynthia Bryan, and I'm the broker-owner of Gillespie Realty.
I'm Jim Carlson. I'm the director of the Missoula City County Environmental Health Division.
Thank you. I'd like to give a couple of you an opportunity to kind of speak in general, if you would, about your feelings about the proposed public sanitary system that might be installed in the Wapikiya area. Mike, would you have some comments that you'd like to share with us?
Certainly would, Tom. I basically have 4 reasons that I support the sewer system. The first one, of course, is the environmental reason. I want clean, pure water. Not only do I want clean, pure water for myself, but I would like it for my children and my children's children. I believe this is a way to ensure or at least help the purity of the aquifer. Secondly is convenience of being on a sewer system rather than being on a private sanitation system. For example, I'd like to have a garbage disposal. Garbage disposal on a sewer system is much more effective. Thirdly is the market value, the price of the house, simply the value of the house. A house on a sewer is more valuable than a house not on a sewer. Lastly, I believe fairly strongly that we should be part of the city. We should not be free riders on the services offered by the city, streets, police protection, fire, etc. We're all part of the same valley, and the political divisions are artificial.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate your comments. Shirley, you're a resident of the area. Do you have a few thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Yes. One of the reasons why I'm interested in being on the sewer is that Wapikiya is a really nice part of town. It's a nice area. The schools are close and so forth. And it seems like, and this is just a feeling that I have, that the area is not as pristine as it could be without being hooked up to the city sewer. That we're getting people there that are looking for just low taxes and are not interested in keeping up their property as much as we would like. I think by going on the sewer that it would increase the value of the houses out there, and that it would make that area again one of the #1 places to live in Missoula, as it once was. Also, I know many people are concerned about the water situation out there, but I was thinking the other day that something that it should be a concern too is that I can't believe it's healthy to be living on top of your own sewage. And for those 2 reasons, I'm very interested in getting on the sewer.
Great. Thank you, Shirley. Sybil?
Well, I'm going to repeat pretty much what the other 2 have said. I think we really need to protect the groundwater for ourselves and future generations to come. And I do feel that in the not too distant future there will be state and or federal laws that will mandate that those who have access to the sewer do go on the sewer. And I think each year that we delay, the costs are going to rise and we're going to have more contamination of the groundwater. The city is offering us a pretty good deal, and I think we'd better take it while taking's good.
Thanks, Sybil. You know, an interesting question that always comes up for those of us who live in the area is, have you had the experience? Have you had a system in your backyard fail? Excuse me, I know, Shirley, that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
It's not pleasant. After we moved into that home in about 1974, I think it was, we lived there a number of years, and then suddenly, kind of out of the blue, we started having these backups where you get your basement full of water, and I can't think of anything worse than having that happen. It happened more and more, and suddenly it's not just water you have in your basements, it's water plus sewage, which is just a terrible situation to be in. So after this went on for a while, we realized that we needed to do something, and when we decided to replace the system, we found out that all we had were the rings and not even a septic tank at all, and so it couldn't just be cleaned out or anything. So we had to have that dug up. We had to put in a new septic tank and new drains in the backyard. It totally disrupted our life. It totally disrupted our backyard. It took years for that backyard to come back. You had to bring in topsoil and so forth and so on, and it's just a terrible disruptive thing to have going on in your life. And even now, after we've replaced the septic tank, it's still a worry. It's always in the back of your mind, is the septic tank going to fail? You get to the point where you're even afraid to have many house guests in because you think, uh-oh, we're going to have a flood in the basement, or we're going to have, a total breakdown. So it's always in the back of your mind. And I'm real tired of having that worry, and it's affecting our life completely as to what we are able to do in our home. And so I really look forward to getting onto the city sewer.
I have a neighbor who lives next door to me that we can all relate to, who has no room left in his backyard. The system has been replaced enough times that there's no place left to go in the yard. So the next time is the last time he has to dig out the entire backyard. A very difficult situation. As we all know, a great deal of the soil beneath our homes in the area is very clay-bound. And if you've dug one up in your backyard, it's astounding the amount of clay that's under there. And even though they replace it with better materials for better drainage when they replace one of the systems, it's only within the parameter of that excavation that they replace those materials. Immediately outside the parameter of that excavation, of course, you're back into the clays again. And of course, those are not very porous materials. And so what we have sits there or finds its passageways out. Jim, could you help us a little bit? Explain to us what the impacts are when a failure happens in someone's yard, and what you think the impacts are of the systems that are currently in place out in that area?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. First of all, I think I'd like to back up a little bit and talk about what some of the concerns of the Health Department and the City County Board of Health are with the aquifer. Individual sewer systems, or sewer systems that go into the groundwater, all of that liquid eventually percolates down into the aquifer. The primary concerns that we have are with the biological portion of that effluent and the chemical portion of the effluent. In terms of the biological effluent, of course, we're talking about bacteria and viruses. We do have a fairly high number of wells in the Missoula Valley that get contaminated with bacteria, and there are not very many individual wells in this area, but there are a few. Those wells are showing higher levels of another contaminant, which is called nitrates, and I'll back up a little bit too. We are also concerned about viruses. Viruses are much smaller than bacteria, and of course they can cause disease in humans, and we have very little information about viruses in the system because they're so difficult to monitor for. There are at least 3 production wells, municipal production wells, for public water in the Wapikiya Bellevue area. Those wells have elevated levels of nitrates. 2 of those wells, in fact, have the highest nitrate levels of any of the wells on the mountain water system. Normally, the nitrate levels in the aquifer are essentially 0. The federal standard, or the level at which we have to shut off the water, is 10. These particular wells are in the order of 2 or 3 milligrams per liter of nitrate. We're seeing deterioration in that part of the aquifer, And of course, we're concerned about that because it is our sole source of drinking water supply in the entire valley, the aquifer. The systems that are present out in the Wapikiya Bellevue area are primarily two types of septic systems. They're either septic tanks followed by seepage pits or septic tanks followed by drain field. Now there is a third type of system which you'll find in some of the older homes or the homes that were built in pre-1967 and haven't been replaced, and that would be a cesspool, which is simply an excavation in the ground where the sewage goes. In a septic tank, you do have a 1,000-gallon reservoir where the material is able to break down somewhat before it leaves the system and goes out into either a drain field or seepage pit. A seepage pit is a vertical pipe in the ground with holes in the side that's usually about 6 feet in diameter and about 6 or 8 feet tall. And the seepage pits provide very little treatment of the sewage. They simply provide a place where the water out of the septic tank can get access to the soil and percolate down into the groundwater. A drain field, on the other hand, is close enough to the surface of the ground where oxygen can get down through the surface soils and provide some additional treatment and breakdown before the effluent percolates down into the groundwater. If you look at our records for the Wapikiya area, try to hold this still, about 267 of the 271 permits in the area that we have on record are for seepage pits. So you can see that the large preponderance of systems in this area are what we would call antiquated systems. We no longer allow seepage pits to be used in new construction because they do not adequately treat the effluent. About 80% of these, according to our records, which go back to about 1967, have failed at least once. In some instances in the Wapikiya area, because of the high amount of clay content, we've had some systems that have been replaced as many as 5 times. This is a substantial cost to the homeowner. If you look at the $2,000 to $3,000 cost for replacement, you could amortize that over 10 years at about $200 to $300 per year per lot. The lots in the Wapikiya subdivision are quite small. They're about 1/6 acre lots. They don't have adequate size for drain fields, and because of the large number of replacements, many of the small lots have no area left for another replacement system. And this is due to the fact that there are tight soils near the surface. On the other side of Southwest 39th, where we get away from the hill and the clay that's washed down off of the older soils up on the foothills, we have a real gravelly system. 265 of the 287 permits that we have in that area are seepage pits. Again, a large preponderance of inadequate systems. About 61% of them have failed at least once in this particular area. And this area may be more of a problem in terms of the aquifer because the soils on the north side of 39th Street have a very high gravel and sand content. Once the effluent leaves the septic tank, it's a very short and quick trip down to the aquifer, and this area, in fact, is more susceptible to contamination than the Wapikiya area, which has a problem actually getting rid of the fluids or getting the fluids off of the problem. Again, we have very small lots in this particular area, and a lot of them are not of suitable size for a replacement drain field system. I should mention it's the policy of the City County Board of Health to encourage municipal sewer in these high-density areas. The City County Health Department is the agency that originally applied for the federal funds for this area, and we've placed this area on a high priority for sewering. The City County Board of Health is not taking sides, if you will, on the annexation issue, but we are extremely strong advocates of getting folks onto the municipal sewer system so that we can protect the aquifer as a potable drinking supply well into the future.
Well, thank you, Jim. We appreciate your input and explanation of that. I think a lot of us probably have some part of understanding of that, but that helps a great deal to hear it from you. Cynthia, you've been a realtor in this community for some time and are well known for your ability to assess values in homes and properties. And a couple of questions I'd like to leave with you, if I may, and I'd ask you them both. First of all, is how does a public sewer improve the market value of a home? And secondly, the marketability of that home. And I know that there are two different things. Could you address that for us?
Well, market value is really a hard thing to say that if you put the public sewer on a house that you'd suddenly raise the value $5,000. I can't tell you that exactly, but I can tell you that the areas that are not served with public sewers, home values are worth a lot less dollar per square foot than homes that are very much like them close by that are on the public sewer. And it's just a fact that people that come in, particularly people from other communities, want homes on public sewer. And I guess the thing that I would say is that it's kind of like putting frosting on the cake. It's like the house that isn't painted or the house that is. And people are very concerned today. I find a different kind of buyer than I did 10 years ago. They're environmentally concerned, and they're also very concerned about the future and their future marketability. So they look at all these things when they buy something. And it's definitely true that it's harder to sell a home in an area that is not on public sewer. Now, when you say does the marketability improve? Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's just no question that it does.
It's probably safe for us to assume then that there are situations where potential buyers of homes come to your office or the office of other realtors in the community looking for advice on locations, and upon finding that some of the areas are not participants in a municipal system, there is some degree of rejection then for some people for that area, and they just won't look in that area because of that line item in the opportunity of the buying of that house.
That's true. That's definitely true.
It's interesting.
And I guess that I can just say over time that I think particularly people who've lived in Missoula a long time too, like myself, are also very concerned and of course this isn't true in the two areas you're talking about today. They're not on wells, but there's other areas close by that we know that will be addressed too. And I frankly have a personal concern there. One of my own children and his family are living with a private system and a well. But it's the same thing what Jim was talking about. We're still having all our water out of wells too. So but back to the marketability, and that's what you asked me about. It does make a difference.
Definitely does make a difference. I've heard other realtors speak to that, and we appreciate hearing that directly from you. Mark, you're here in a little different capacity. Because of your affiliation with the Clark Fork Water Company and so forth, tell us what value is the public sewer system to you?
Clark Fork Water Company is a small utility. We service about 600 homes on the South Hills area of Missoula. And public sewer is important to us because we provide and draw all of our water from the underground aquifer. This water comes deep in the ground, but it comes out in the area of 23rd Street. And there is no other source for us. In other words, if this fails for some reason, there's no other place to go. We do not have a creek nearby we can go tap, or we don't have a river or some other source. And so it's very important to us we preserve that water. At this time, we've been very fortunate. Our water is good and clean. But certainly there are signs in the area that would indicate otherwise, and we want to be leading the way, not following the way, and make sure that doesn't happen to these people. It's going to cost more money. If for some reason the groundwater is contaminated, the only resource we have to look to is some kind of chlorination or purification. It's expensive, and ultimately these costs are borne by the ratepayers and the homeowners, so that to help them prevent this cost from being passed to them, we need the help of not only people we provide service to, but those in Wapikiya to encourage them to bring the sewer system in, because it will forestall problems in the future. A situation might arise where we may be supplying water to mountain water at some time in the future, and we would certainly want that water to be as clean or cleaner than their water, and we'd like that to be, if that was going to the Wapikiya area, to be not contaminated by a groundwater problem. Also, it's important to the water company because it's progressive. And one thing we want to be is we want to be leading with all the technology and money that we can afford to put into it, leading the way into solving a problem. Cities and other municipalities who have sewer systems are progressing. They're moving ahead. People's attitudes are better. They're less concerned about the things that they drink, and they're more concerned about doing business and taking care of their daily life. And I think that's important to Clark Fork Water, and it's important to me as a citizen of Missoula.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much. We hope we brought you some information today and some attitudes and opinions today that will help you to formulate your feelings about the proposed sewer system for the area. And I'd like one last opportunity. If any of the members of the panel have any additional comments or considerations they'd like to share with us, we'd sure like you to take advantage of that time. Any additional thoughts anyone has? Yes.
When I was talking about the septic tank failure that we had some years ago, something that you need to consider when you're talking about the cash outlay in a situation like this is that when you have septic tank failure and you have to have somebody come in and dig and put in a new system and so forth, it's usually cash up front right then and there, which in our case involved going to the bank, and the best loan we could get was for 3 years. So our payments were really significant for those years to take care of the cost of that septic tank, which at that time, I suppose, I think was around $2,000. I don't know what the price is now, but I've got to believe it might even be double. So now the city is offering us this wonderful opportunity to go on to the public sewer at a much more reasonable cost and spreading the cost over more years and making the payments something that you can really live with. And that's a lot why I think it's just an excellent opportunity and should be taken advantage of right now and not put off for the future.
Having done a system some years after yours, it was $3,000 when we did ours, and I'm sure that the amount is escalating over time to do that. Mike, any other thoughts you might like to share with our neighbors?
No, I think everybody's
covered. Okay, fine. Sybil, any other thoughts?
No, I just have to agree 100% with Shirley. We've got to do it now or pay dearly later.
Yes. Well, again, we appreciate the opportunity to share our information with you and to bring you the viewpoint of the citizens and people in our community who really do care about our water system. They care about our sewage disposal system and the opportunities that we have facing us now as residents of the Wapikiya and Bellevue areas. Again, my name is Tom Casino. We'd like to thank you all for viewing with us today, and we'd ask that you please stand by. There'll be voting instructions available for your considerations. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carla Kraus, the Development Coordinator for the City of Missoula. On August 31st, the city mailed a package to each address in the Wapikiya-Bellevue area. In that package is the 1990 Wapikiya-Bellevue Sanitary Sewer Proposal, which includes a ballot for each resident freeholder to vote for or against the 1990 proposal. A resident freeholder is anyone who owns property and also lives at that property. Let me explain the ballot to you a little bit. Each ballot will have a label at the top showing the ownership of that property as the city currently knows it. If this information is incorrect, please fill in the correct information in the box underneath. There is a space provided on the ballot for 2 resident freeholders to vote. The first homeowner can vote for or against and sign, and the second homeowner can vote for or against and sign. If there is more than 2 homeowners, an additional ballot will be provided. However, if you don't have enough ballots or your original ballot is damaged or lost, you can contact the city engineering office for additional or replacement ballots. The number to call is 523-4620 or 523-4646. Only original ballots with the label in place at the top will be accepted for count. These ballots are due in the county elections office on or before September 17th. We will be providing in your package an envelope like this, postage paid with the county elections return address on it to make it convenient for returning your ballot to the county elections office, or you may hand carry it to the elections office in person on or before September 17th. Thank you.